Welcome to LCTV News. I'm Maria Wilson.
And I'm Jenna Brown. And this is an Endicott College Takeover edition of the LCTV News. In this week's news, Revolution Pie and Pint closing, Lynn to run the Boston Marathon, sit down with State Rep Dan Cahill, and more.
The Revolution Pie and Pint restaurant in downtown Lynn is shutting down after their initial launch in late August. The restaurant's Worcester location will remain open. That location includes a stand-up and improv comedy club. Brew on the Grid, another restaurant in the same Lynn location, will stay open.
Leah Warren, an art teacher at Lynn Classical, is excited for the upcoming installation of the Manning Field football mural that will be portraying the past generations of football history in a large photo collage that combines the love of art and sports. After collecting a few more photos and donations, the completed design is planned to be sent to a printer in early May to soon be revealed to the community.
Some say crime, some say art. Al Wilson and his organization Beyond Walls stand behind graffiti art bursts in some Lynn neighborhoods. He and his organization aim to strengthen local community through art and the revival of overlooked areas throughout the full facade murals.
Lynn native Fred Matthew has joined the ranks of entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. His company, For the Culture, gives a platform to millennials of color to produce news, blogs, and podcasts. If you would like to write or donate or be involved in any way, contact Fred Matthew through theculturemedia.com.
The LVTI Skills USA chapter has published a new children's book, Tech Goes to Tiger Town. The book is dedicated to teaching about all aspects of vocational education, ranging from literacy to technical aspects. You can buy a copy of this book by emailing the organization. Signed copies are also available with a personalized message to each customer.
Lynn resident Brian Castellanos will run the Boston Marathon for the third straight year in an effort to raise awareness for the organization Horizons for Homeless Children. The organization is dedicated to helping homeless children reach their goals and to support them in the field of choice. Castellanos has already raised more than $30,000 for the organization and aims to spread the message for years to come.
At this week's City Council meeting, 2 more pot shops have been approved in the city of Lynn. Good Chemistry and Tree Market LLC. Good Chemistry, which also has other shops in Worcester and Bellingham, will be located at 696 Western Ave in Lynn and is planned to open in the winter of 2019. Tree Market LLC has plans to open up a shop located at 3 Mount Vernon Street, Unit 6, sometime this year, where he has teamed up with Danny Rizzore, CFO of the company, to open the shop, which still is waiting for an opening date.
The Lynn City Council also voted to authorize the superintendent to submit the Massachusetts School Building Authority the Statement of Interest form, dated February 15, 2019, for the Lynn Vocational Technical Institute, 80 Neptune Boulevard in Lynn.
After months of investigation, police arrested 36-year-old Lynn resident Jose Mora last Monday on drug trafficking charges. Mora was arrested during a traffic stop. 3 men have been convicted as part of a tax fraud scheme in Essex County. Sentencing has been scheduled for June 25th. Accountant David Pluckett of Lynn has pleaded guilty to submitting false tax returns. Another Salem man was indicted in September and pled not guilty. The 3rd man, who lives in Lynnfields, pleaded guilty in October to conspiracy. Pluckett could face up to 33 years in prison.
Police are investigating an assault that happened on Lynshore Drive on Monday. Police say a 48-year-old man was standing on Lynshore Drive and was assaulted by an unknown attacker. The attacker stole a drill from the victim, along with his cell phone.
Mayor McGee welcomed North Shore Latino Business Association to City Hall for the annual flag raising of the Dominican flag in honor of the 175th Dominican Independence Ceremony. LCTV sent a crew to City Hall for the ceremony.
Mayor McGee welcomed the North Shore Latino Business Association to City Hall to celebrate the 175th Independence Day ceremony for the Dominican Republic.
I want to welcome you to Lynn City Hall as we celebrate the 175th anniversary of the independence of the Dominican Republic tomorrow, February 27, 2019.
Community leaders were rewarded with citations for their contributions to the city.
Today I am honored to bring citations to present to 4 members of our community who have been selected to be recognized by the Dominican Flag Committee. Each person has served as an exceptional representative of not only the Dominican community here in Lynn, but also the entire city.
The citations are a representation of the impact of Dominican culture in the city of Lynn.
This is a citation from the Mayor's office for all of these 4 wonderful people. Be it known that The Mayor's Office and the city extends its most sincere congratulations and appreciation to Garcia Garcia, again, Osvaldo Salcedo, Amanda Mena, and Javier Marquez.
For LCTV News, I'm Rebecca Shade.
Graffiti was found on the MBTA platform earlier this week in an apparent vandalism. Mia Finizzi has more.
Here at the MBTA, there has been graffiti found here on the outbound sign. Written in the graffiti is the letters SWB. It is unclear what the graffiti means. It is also unclear on who wrote the graffiti. The MBTA and Lynn police have made no comments on the situation so far. LCTV will be reporting on the situation as information pours in. Reporting from the MBTA in Lynn, I'm Mia Finizzi.
The New Lynn Coalition held a forum on immigration at the Lynn Housing Authority. LCTV was on the scene.
And this is the speech that, from the speech he gave last month, trying to justify the wall and why it was important for him to get the money to build the so-called wall down on the border.
I am from Honduras, and these days, I guess we are the headache of Donald Trump. With all these people coming to the border, and he said he don't know what to do. This is a crisis. We need more or less the troops, and so.
I think in order to talk about immigrants and jobs, we also have to talk about race. We also have to talk about colonialism. So I am going to talk about race and colonialism in trying to answer the question, historically, do immigrants take American jobs, or what does that question even mean?
Quiero hablar en esta noche por qué vienen los inmigrantes.
I would like to talk tonight about why the immigrants are coming to this country.
To watch the full forum, visit lctv.org.
Next weekend, Lynn Museum will host a community-wide event to celebrate the history and diversity of the Lynn community. The event is called Story Share and includes historic photos of longtime Lynn residents. The museum's executive director, Drew Russo, explains more.
A story that we're hoping to tell this summer, an exhibit called Untold Stories, a history of Black people in Lynn. It originated as an idea from museum staff, and then we started working with members of the community over the last year to figure out how we can best tell this story. And what we realized is that our own collection doesn't accurately or adequately tell the 250-year history of people in Lynn, of Black people in Lynn. Lynn is a city of immigrants. And we want to do the best job that we can to tell the whole Lynn story. Everything that we do on Saturday is really going to allow us to build that exhibit. So it's important for people to come down, to share their stories, to share their photographs, any documents, any artifacts that they want to share. So it really is a true community celebration and a curated exhibit that comes from the people who have lived the experience or who have family members that have lived the experience. And so we hope people come down and join us, but really everything that we do on Saturday is literally what we're going to use to build this exhibit, and we couldn't be more excited about it.
The Lynn Museum is making efforts to celebrate the artists and culture of the city. Reporter Sarah Wolak went to Lynn Museum to understand its past and present.
Lynn, a community founded off of the trades in the boom of the Industrial Revolution, gave it the name Shoe Capital of the World. Not many outside of Lynn would know that the city once produced nearly 1 million shoes per day. The city eventually grew to have 234 shoe factories. They began shutting down after the Great Depression. Today, the streets outside of the museum are still lined with shoe factories from the 20th century. Decorating the buildings, though, are contemporary street murals that connect to Lynn's roots and future.
Now there's a real arts movement, and it really is giving people a new sense that Lynn is a city of the arts.
Drew Russo, executive director of the Lynn Museum, says the museum is celebrating artists that are making Lynn their new home. More than 30 murals cover the town center.
You have artists that are coming here to Lynn because they know it's a place to create.
The museum is using the past to pave way for the future by tying Lynn's new street art with the artisan past.
What I think we like to tell is a story of strength, a story of how Lynn has remained and still is one of the most consequential cities in the history of the United States.
The Lynn Museum and Lynn Arts Foundations display many of the artifacts that tell the story of Lynn's successes and downfalls.
It is a story of triumph. It's a story of resilience. Lynn has been through a lot in its nearly 400-year history.
Russo and the Lynn Museum employees are keeping Lynn's tradition of artistry alive by preserving the past shoe history while making way for newcomers.
So I think one of the things that we try to do here is not just tell the story that everybody knows, but to help people peel back the layers of the city that they may not know.
The Lynn Museum and Lynn Arts are promoting Lynn as a city of the arts by supporting the new coming art installments.
Let's take a look at the sports update. The Bulldogs finished their last season Tuesday during the Division I North State Tournament as they fell short against Andover. Coach Mackenzie Charles and their team lacked the strength that night in 67-31 decision, but is happy with the growth of his players throughout the season. St. Mary's is off to a great start in tournament play with their win against Sachems of Saugus in the first round of Division III North Tournament. Junior Marcus Brunson Perez led the team with 12 points, including 3-pointers, contributing to the overall score of 74-56. Kip's boys basketball team performed well in their first MIAA tournament game as they took down Bishop Fenwick in the Division IV North quarterfinals on Thursday. The team was led by sophomore Abdul Berry, who recorded a double-double with 21 points and 11 rebounds in the team's 59-40 victory. Lynn Classical boys basketball ended a successful season on Friday, but fell to Lowell at the Division I North quarterfinals match. Rams coach Jasper Grassa was satisfied with his team, but they could not capitalize and fell 76-61, ending their season with a final record of 15-7. The Lynn Jets performed well in their win over Shawsheen at the Division III North quarterfinals on Saturday. Junior forward Andrew Petrie recorded a hat trick in the team's 6-3 victory. The team will face off against Lynn on Wednesday in the semifinal matchup.
On this week's Lynn Lowdown, Endicott College junior Tacey Crescent sat down with State Representative Dan Cahill.
Welcome to the Lynn Lowdown. My name is Tacey Crescent, and here with me today is Representative Dan Cahill. Dan, thank you for joining us today on this Sunday.
It's an honor to be here. Very excited about this.
I know we had to do a little bit of rescheduling due to the snow, which actually didn't turn out to be that bad, but
the no-storm.
It worked out.
We might have another no-storm tonight.
I know, but people, it's New England. You don't know what to prepare for at this point.
It's all good. We're in March. Spring's around the corner.
I know.
Daylight savings. Remember to turn your clocks back. No, forward, right?
Forward.
Spring forward,
yeah,
fall back.
We get more light.
Excited about that.
I know. We all need that.
Vitamin D deficiency is
it's real. The winter really does do that to you.
Yeah, it does. We're in mopey moods right now.
I know. So I do have a list of things that I want to talk to you about.
Great.
We can go through them, but I do want to start off with the push for education funding.
Yeah.
I know that the Massachusetts House Speaker, Robert DeLeo, came to Lynn recently, right, to kind of see the need for funding. And there's an issue between the amount of students and teachers, right? So what is that funding going to do for Lynn?
Well, Tacey, for the last couple of years, we've been talking a lot about education funding at the state level. And last session, we were very close to trying to get a bill passed. But negotiations had broken down between the Senate and the House, and nothing materialized. But beginning in this session, the governor probably gave us the best signal that something was going to happen when, in his proposed budget, House Bill 1, there was, for the first time, some significant increases for funding for public education. That money would, in his legislation, target most of the gateway cities. There's like about 10 to 12 real urban districts that happen to be gateways as well. Those like 24 gateways, and that's where we're seeing kind of the biggest deficiencies in funding for education because of the nature of the populations that are being served and the needs of those districts. So we were very excited to see that happen. The Senate has filed their education bill, dubbed the Promise Act. And the House has filed its bill. So now all three chambers have a bill. That's a good thing.
That is a
right
good
at the
thing.
beginning.
That's a good thing.
All call for significant increases in public education. For the governor's bill, I think is around $800 million paid out through 7 years. The House version is $800 to $900 million paid out through 5 years. And the Senate version is anywhere between $8 and like $2 billion, but there's no time limit on when that could be spent. So I was very happy to be like the #2 co-sponsor of the House version, which was filed by Representative Paul Tucker from Salem. Salem, much like Lynn, has a lot of funding needs, and we haven't been able to meet them. I was very blessed to have Speaker Robert DeLeo, upon an invitation, visit the Lynn Ingalls Elementary School, and he saw firsthand what's going on in our public school system, where we see significant needs for ELL students, ELA students, SPED students. We've had some changes recently in the definition of what a low-income student is, which was a detriment to the school system in Lynn at the tune of about $6 million a year. So we're going to work through, hopefully, all of those issues and get some much needed funding so we can target it towards students that really need the assistance that they deserve here in Massachusetts.
So is that the state's goal, if this reform was fully implemented, is to focus it on those students particularly?
I think there's enough money to go around to all students, because remember, there's suburban districts as well, and that kind of that in-between Goldilocks type of district where it's not urban, not suburban, but they have the needs that some of the urban districts have. So the goal would be to fund as many school systems as possible that need the assistance, but also with an eye of targeting some of our most vulnerable and most needy students. They happen to live in urban districts because of various issues with transportation and housing and cultural issues. So we're hopeful that something will get done. All chambers have signaled that something could get done possibly sooner rather than later. We're on a 2-year process, but my hope is that this gets done in this calendar year, because I remember as former Governor Deval Patrick used to say, kids can't take the 3rd grade off, right? So time is of the essence here to try to fix this and make sure that Massachusetts continues to be a leader in public education nationwide.
And does this also include potentially hiring more educators, more teachers for these students? How would you?
Well, the models of education has changed. And in full disclosure, my wife Angela is a public school teacher here in Lynn at Thurgood Marshall Middle School, so I did get that disclosure out there. Mm-hmm. It's her second career. She was an attorney, and then she wanted to go into teaching, and she loves it. And now I feel like I'm much more part of the process for some of the schools in Lynn, which has been very helpful. But education's changed. Even in the last 10, 15, 20 years, it's not just kids in a classroom with one teacher. There's a lot of collaboration now between different types of professionals that have different subset of skills. So you can walk into an elementary school and see 2 or 3 teachers with smaller groups working on various issues, and with different populations and kids at different levels. And it seems to be working. We've seen test scores continue to do well in Massachusetts. But again, without the necessary funding, you're not going to see that type of delivery of educational service, and that's the goal.
So along with this educational funding, you're also very involved with the Lynn Community Health Center and introducing men to prostate cancer screenings.
Thank you.
So talk a little bit about that. What does this mean for the community?
Well, Lynn Community Health Center, more full disclosure, I'm a patient at Lynn Community Health Center. That's where I get my health care, and it's a fantastic fantastic provider. In Massachusetts, we've been really pushing community health centers because it's an affordable, low-cost delivery of service as compared to emergency rooms, as compared to higher cost hospitals in Boston. So we've been really trying to push community health centers. There's been some funding issues lately that we were trying to fix in a bill last year with some healthcare, a healthcare omnibus bill that didn't make it through. We're hopeful to do that again last year. We're going to put the last session behind us. We're going to focus on this session, and we're hopeful to get a better healthcare bill this year that establishes some trust funds that kind of prop up our Lynn Community Health Centers until something called an ACO model, Accountable Care Organizations. We've been implementing that in the last several years in Massachusetts. The community health centers have done a fantastic job. They basically coordinate with other providers called wraparound services, because to keep one patient healthy, it's not just a visit to the emergency room, it's not just a doctor's checkup, it's what do you need for services outside of this building, and they really coordinate that, and we think it's going to lead to lower healthcare costs. But Lynn Community Health Center is a pioneer in that industry. They're a huge player here in the city of Lynn in providing healthcare to us, and in particular, we're going to be working with the health center on an initiative relative to prostate cancer. So prostate cancer affects men and women, men. And the studies show that some subsets of the male population are in more risk than others. So we find that in minority men, particularly Latino men, there's less apt for those folks to be screened early, to undergo the testing, and that has led to high rates of diagnoses and death among Latino men and men of color relative to prostate cancer. So that's something that can be avoidable through testing and early detection, and we obviously want to keep our population healthy and live prosperous, long lives. Like Dr. Spock used to say, right? Live long and prosper. But also, there's a cost factor. It's late detection is very costly. So there's new technology. Before, the prostate cancer test was unpleasant to say the least. I will not go into details. But now they've shifted through actually a fund that was the seed money was given to through the Massachusetts legislature a couple of years ago, that they've now find that MRIs is a way of kind of like an early detection for prostate cancer instead of the other way more evasive and unpleasant and blind testing they used to do. So now through an MRI, you can really do some early detection, and hopefully that would lead to early care. But we're trying to get the word out among minority populations that it's not your father's prostate cancer screening. It's a very non-invasive test now.
So are there statistics potentially in Lynn that kind of show this need to push for these screenings?
They have, the folks that we have funded this program through have done studies, have data to back it up, that in Lynn is a very, very high risk population, and that's why we've been very happy to work with them and coordinate. We're going to start coordinating messaging with Lynn Community Health Center. Also, our local Latino newspaper, La Voz, has been very receptive to this, and it's all about awareness, it's all about communication, and it's a fun project to kind of work on. It's not your average legislative issue. It's something that you can really see have an impact locally in your district, and it's something that it saves lives.
Great. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but awareness and communication is a great way to.
We only got the two subjects.
I know.
Did anyone tell you that I talk a lot?
I did get that.
Did anyone know that I talk a lot?
No,
okay.
Nobody knows. But thank you so much for coming to the Lynn Lowdown and talking. I really appreciate it on this Sunday afternoon.
Stacey, have me back anytime.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching the LCTV News. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and visit us at lyntv.org to watch any show anytime on your computer, tablet, or phone.
I'm Marie Wilson.
And I'm Jenna Brown. Have a great day.